So this is number 11. We are going to graph these and do all the system of inequalities stuff. The steps for doing this is to graph the both lines. Then we want to shade. Number 11. So after we graph both, we're going to shade very lightly on both, and then we're going to darken in the overlap. So for the first line, x is greater than or equal to 3. That first line, is that one a vertical or a horizontal line? Darken the overlap. X is greater than negative 3. Is that a vertical up and down line or a side to side line? No, that's not side to side.
Up and down.
That one goes up and down. Remember, we did that on the special cases for the other things. So that one goes straight up and down through positive 3. Is it going to be solid or dotted?
It's going to be solid.
It's going to be solid. How do you know it's solid?
Because there's a line under it.
Yep, there's a line underneath it.
Shade to the right.
Now, since this one is a vertical line, it is a little bit weird for the above and below. We need to talk about the left and the right shading. Greater than is the x values that are bigger are in this direction, shading to the right. So that's what color I'm going to shade it in. I'll go over here, and I'll shade it in this direction. Now, this is not the answer. This is just where the answer has to be. It cannot be anywhere on the left where it's not colored in at all. It's going to be in the yellow area somewhere. In order to find what part of the yellow area, we need to graph the second line. So the second line, where would I start?
Negative 1.
-1 on the y-axis. The slope is -1/3, so which direction would I go? Down 1 over 3. I could have also gone up 1 and back 3. Is this a solid or a dotted line?
It's dotted.
It is a dotted line. How do you know it's dotted?
Because
There's no line underneath, and Savannah said so. But what about shading? What about shading? What part of this gets shaded in? How do you know it's above? Because it's greater than tells you that it's above, so this side is what's getting shaded in. So since that side gets shaded in, what is the answer to this? Where is the answer found? The area where both of them shaded is in this area right here, where it's kind of greenish on my screen here. But that's where the actual answer is. I should draw your attention to the board that I hope I don't have to do with you today. I have shown second and fourth period that if they were messing around during class while I'm trying to teach you, I will be increasing the number of questions for every time I have to stop, because you guys are doing something you shouldn't do. So second period got an extra 5 questions on their exam. You start with 40. 40 is not too much. If I have to keep stopping because you guys are not paying attention, or you're talking, or you're doing something else that you're not supposed to do, I will increase that by 5 every time I have to stop. Are there any questions about that part of it? Okay? What we're going to do is go on to number 12. Micah, since you just got your paper, I can give you number 11 after a little bit, but I can't wait for this entire time while you copy down number 12. Or number 11. Number 12 is almost identical, with the exception you have to solve it first. So number 12 here, we want to go ahead and solve both equations. We want to solve them both for y. So how do I solve the first equation? What do I have to do to it? All right, I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. And this will get me y is bigger than or equal to. What is over there?
Negative 3.
-4x minus 3. It does not honestly matter which order you put it in. However, I will put it in slope-intercept form if I can. So I'm going to put the x thing first. It's just usually a little bit easier to read. If I wanted to graph that, where would I start the graph?
Negative 3.
-3. From there, where would I go? Up 4, over 1 to the left or to the right?
Left.
Why would I go to the left?
It's negative.
Because it's a negative sloping line. Is this one going to be solid or dotted, and how do I know?
Solid because there's a line underneath.
Solid because it's got a line underneath it. So here is the graph of the first line. Now the second line. It's going to look very similar after I'm done. How do
You
I...
have to shade.
We will have to shade it. So we might as well go ahead and shade it right now, just so we could get that out of the way. So shading for the red line is above, so it's going to be on the right side. This is where the answer should lie. This is not your entire answer. It's just going to be, you know, part of the answer. But that's where the answer could be. I need to solve the second equation. So maybe I should go ahead and write down on the step is shade both. So I'm going to go ahead and graph the second line. So negative 4x. This is y is equal to, y is greater than or equal to, what is the equation? Minus 2. Now negative 4x minus 2 is the equation. I need to graph that. Where would I start for that line?
Negative 2.
Negative 2, which is just slightly above it.
Up 4.
Up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Went to the left.
Over 1. And you'll notice that it is going to be a parallel line that is just a little tiny bit away from the red line. What side of the blue line would I shade? Would I shade the left or the right side of that?
To the right.
All right, I would shade to the right as well. That is the above side because it's a greater than. And you should notice that it overlaps in pretty much all of the graph with the exception of where. Where is it not overlapping?
Little middle part.
Yeah, the little middle part. The little middle part is not going to be colored in this case. All right? This time the overlapping is on the complete right side. In fact, the only part of the answer that actually has any effect on it is the blue line and to the right. The red line actually has nothing to do with this answer anymore because the blue line was parallel to it and we needed to be to the right of both. So the answer is not in between the lines. The answer is to the right of the blue line. Are there any questions about that problem? There aren't really any special cases to this. Make sure that you indicate where your answer is by coloring in very darkly this side of the blue line, and that the inside between them should not be colored in very dark at all. Are there any questions, problems, concerns before we move on? Going once, going twice, and gone. So, let's go ahead and talk about number 13. Number 13, this is the section that we've been working on for a while. This is writing the equation of lines in slope-intercept form. I need to know two things whenever I write an equation of lines. What two things do I need to know? All right, so find the slope, which is what over what? Rise over run. And then find what is the other thing? Find B, which is the what?
Y-intercept.
The y-intercept, where it's crossing the y-axis. And then I want to take m and b, and I want to plug in to y equals mx plus b. These are the steps, okay? So the first thing I want to do is find 2 points. In order to find the slope, you need 2 points. All right, where is a good point to use on this graph? All right, 2 on the x-axis is a very good point. Where's another point that we could use? All right, 3, negative 3 is close, but it's not exact. 0, 5 is a good looking point, or also 4, negative 5. Yeah, 4, negative 5. Any of those 2 points would work. I'm going to count rise and run. So m is equal to, what is the rise?
5/2.
All right, the rise is 5, and the run is 2. Now, you made a mistake that everybody does, which is not getting the sign correct, which is actually a negative 5/2. Remember that slope, we have 2 types of slope, positives and negatives. All right, so the positive slope should be going up and to the right. The negative slope should be going down to the right. So we have this has got to be a negative slope because it's going down as we go across. Always look for the type of slope that it is. That'll guarantee that you get at least the sign right, if not the numbers as well. Okay? So that's the slope. What about b? What's the y-intercept? Is it 2? It is 5. Where is the y-axis? Up and down. So this right here is b. It's got to be on the y-intercept, not the x-intercept. Make sure you're paying attention to that. If I were to graph this line, I'd start there at 5 and then go down 5 over 2. I don't care that it's crossing the x-axis at 2. That doesn't matter to me. It just happens to do that. What matters to me is that it's crossing the y-axis at 5. So what is the equation then? Negative 5 over 2x plus 5. Very good. This is the equation of your line and the final answer for what I'm looking for. There are 2 special cases. Make sure that you know them. Actually, more like 3 special cases. I'll talk about those for a second. One of the special cases is the vertical line, which has an equation that looks like x equals something. The other special case is the horizontal line, which has an equation that looks like what? Y equals a number. And then there's the line that goes through the origin. All right, this one's not really a special case. What is its y-intercept if it's going through the origin? 0. B equals 0. We do not write the equation y equals mx plus 0. Plus 0 is not necessary. The equation for this line is y equals whatever your slope is times x. So make sure you be able to recognize that on a multiple choice test. It will not have a plus 0 written out there. It'll just have mx. Okay? The slope times the x. And that's it. Are there any questions about the 3 special cases? Okay. So if there is a no intercept, we don't even have a number for b. Number 14 and 15 are very, very similar to each other. What they are is writing an equation in slope-intercept form when I'm given an equation in standard form. So in this case it has standard form. I will need to do what? What was it? Solve for what? Y. In order to solve for y, the first thing you want to do is get rid of x, the x's, and then you want to get rid of numbers, if there are any. Get rid of the x's, and then get rid of the numbers. So that is if there is an x on the same side as y, you want to get rid of it. If there is a number that is in front of y, you need to get rid of it. So, is there an x that's on the same side? Yes. How do I get rid of the 2x? Subtract 2x. Subtracting 2x will get rid of it. It'll leave me with what equation? Very good. Negative 7y is equal to negative 2x plus 23. This first step, this getting rid of the x's step, is commonly done by doing adding or subtracting. Okay? Now I need to get rid of the number. The number is with the x, or with the y. Divide by negative 7 on everything. And this step is commonly used by dividing. Okay? That's usually how you would get rid of the number part. So this is y is equal to, what is negative 2 divided by negative 7? 2/7 x minus 23 divided by 7 doesn't go in evenly, so it's just 23/7. It can't be reduced, so that is what it is. That can happen. I'm not asking you to graph this. It's a perfectly acceptable slope-intercept form equation. Are there any questions about that? Okay. There aren't any real special cases on this. You just got to get y by itself. There's no special case, really. Does anybody have any questions on how to do number 14? All right, number 15 is very much like it. The only difference with number 15 is that the x's and the y's are on the opposite side of the equation. This is not a really big deal. We can just do a different first step. The first step would be to flip everything, in my opinion. There are several ways you can do this. All right, I don't want the y's on the right side because I like my equations y equals mx plus b. I like the y's to be on the left. That's just how I like it. So if I see the y's on the right, I'm going to flip everything.
So if you switch it, then it becomes positive.
Okay, there are a couple ways you could do it, okay? I'm just going to simply rearrange the entire equation, leaving everything exactly as it is. Rearranging it by saying I'm going to put the negative 2y minus 4x on the left side and negative 2 on the right side. That's one way you could just flip it around the equal sign, all right, around the equal sign. That's one way that you could do it. The other way you could do it is what I think you're thinking of, Savannah, would be add the 2y, add the 4x, subtract, or add the 2 to every side. That'll cancel them out from the sides they're on and put them on the other side with the opposite signs. You'll get the same answer either way. It does not honestly matter which one you do. I'm simply going to just move the left side to the right and the right side to the left. Okay? Now I can solve it exactly like I normally do. If it's written like this, a lot of people will subtract the wrong thing or add the wrong thing. What am I trying to get rid of here? How do I get rid of the x? Add what? I add 4x to both sides, and that'll cancel the x's. Negative 2y is equal to 4x minus 2. So the second step is to solve for y. We got to do it exactly like we did on the previous example. What would the last step to this for solving for y be? Divide by not 2, but negative 2. And that'll get me y is equal to 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2x. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is positive 1. And this is the equation in slope-intercept form. Once y is by itself, it's in slope-intercept form. Again, no real special cases for these. Is that what you got? Okay. Any questions on that problem? Okay, that is how slope-intercept form is done. Let's do number 16. We've been working on number 16 for a while. Number 16 is going to give you information about the line. It gives you the point and the slope, and it asks you to write the equation of the line that will go through that point and have the slope that it gives you. And the way to do that, the first thing you want to do is find x, y, and m. There are three numbers here. There's an x, there's a y, and there's an m. So where is x? Where is y? And where is m? Once you have x, y, and m, the rest of the problem becomes relatively easy. The second step is to plug in to y equals mx plus b. So what is y?
3.
Equals, what is m? Negative 7/4 times what is x? Negative 4 plus what's b? B is b. I don't know b yet. B is just b. What I need to do is I need to solve for b. That's the next step. 3 is solve for b. How could I do that? What is the first step that I need to do to solve for b? You need to multiply those things. 3 is equal to negative 7/4 times negative 4,
Negative 7.
positive 7. Negative times negative is a positive, plus b. Get rid of the 7 by doing what? Subtracting 7, and b is equal to negative 4. Now that is a place where a lot of people are tempted to stop because they got an answer to an equation. That's not where you stop. Once you have solved for b, you need to do the last step, which is to plug back in. So plug in m and b. So what is the actual equation, the actual answer? Y is equal to, what's m?
7/4, negative 7/4.
X plus, what is b?
Negative 4.
So we could write it as minus 4. You can write plus a negative 4, but be aware this will be a multiple choice test. So make sure you identify it's got a negative 4, so it's minus 4. know how to do that on here. Okay? Are there any questions about that type of problem? There are no real shortcuts for that. There are no special cases. It is what it is. Number 17. This time I give you more information about it. I don't give you a point and a slope. I give you 2 points. And I'm asking you to find the equation of the line that will go through those 2 points. Only one line will do it. The first step is to find m. Since there are no special cases, I'm going to write the formula for m over here and say, what is the formula to find m when given 2 points? y2 minus y1 x2 minus x1. Very good. This is the equation. It does not matter which order you subtract the y's and subtract the x's as long as you keep it the same on the top and the bottom. I like to subtract it in the order that the formula gives it. So here is x, here is y, here is x, and here is y. What is y2? That is the second point's y value. Negative 3 minus negative 1 all over 0 is x2 minus x1 is 4. Now this will get me the slope. Negative 3 minus negative 1 is negative 2 divided by negative 4, which will simplify to 1/2. This is m. After I find m, the next thing I want to do is pick a point. I want to pick a point. It does not matter which point you pick, although sometimes it's easier than others. But I want to pick a point, a nice point. Which point do I want to pick for negative 1 or 0, negative 3?
0, negative.
I always recommend picking the point that has 0 involved with it. Usually that makes it easier. Okay? So we're going to pick a point. The third step that we're going to do is we're just going to do it like above. We have the point, we have the slope, we need to identify x, y, and m. So here's x, here's y, there is m, and we're going to plug it into y equals mx plus b. What is y?
0.
What is y? Negative 3
Oh, yeah.
is equal to, what is m?
1/2.
Times, what is x?
Negative 3. I mean 0.
0 plus b. Now the good thing about picking a point that has 0 involved, especially when 0 is your x, is what is 0 times anything?
0.
So these things are just going to cancel, leaving me with b equals negative 3. Therefore, my equation, y equals mx plus b, would be y equals 1/2 x minus 3. That's the equation of your line. Are there any questions on how that works? Again, we find the slope. We have to use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We find the y-intercept by plugging into y equals mx plus b. And once we have the slope and the y-intercept, all we would have to do is plug those numbers into y equals mx plus b and be done with it. Questions, problems, concerns? Nah, bro. Let's go to the next one. The next two are similar to each other and similar to the last one. It does give you some different information. You want to write the equation of the line that goes through that point and is parallel to the given line. Can somebody tell me what parallel means?
They have the same slope.
They have the same slope. So the first thing you want to do is find the slope. What is the slope of the line that's given to me?
2, 5, or 5 over 2. Oh, 4 over 1.
The slope is 4.
Yeah.
So m is equal to 4. The line that it gave me had a slope of 4, so that's the slope of my new line because it's parallel. It has the same slope. The second thing we want to do is do it like above. Find b like above. Alright, so I need to know x, y, and m. What is x?
2,
Y is?
5,
And m is 4. We've already found that. So I want to plug it into y equals mx plus b. Y is 5 equals m is 4 times x is 2 plus b.
I don't have this paper.
You don't have this paper? That's interesting. Give me 1 second, I'll find it. 5 times 2 is, or 4 times 2 is, 8 plus b is equal to 5. And subtract 8 from both sides, and b is equal to negative 3. Once we have b and m, what's the last one? The equation?
Y equals 4.
4x
Plus B. I mean, plus minus 3.
minus 3. That's the equation. We'll pick up on number 19 in just a second.